Hey there, folks. Unlike the last two podcasts, this is going to be a much shorter version of it. So, because this is just going to be my opinion of Monday Night Raw, and I thought that Raw was a good show. Not exactly great because the first hour and most of the second hour pretty much sucked. The third hour was a little bit better, and the highlight of the second hour was Paige returning to Monday Night Raw after so many months of being out with an injury and so much adversity going against her. So I'm happy to see her back, but I wish it was not on Monday Night Raw. I wish it was on the other show, SmackDown Live. So that was pretty much what I thought. But I'm happy to see her back, and it's pretty surprising that she actually brought back. Well, not actually brought back, but Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose made their debuts on the main roster. And for those who don't know, Sonya Deville was Daria and Tough Enough, and Mandy is short for Amanda. So, I mean, both of them were contestants on Tough Enough, and Paige was a judge on Tough Enough back then in 2015. So, there is a bit of history between Paige, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville. Now they formed a new faction together, so it's going to be interesting to see how that works. And Roman Reigns is now the new Intercontinental Champion. My thoughts are wait and see. That's all I'm going to say. Wait and see. It's gonna be like a little bit interesting to see how he's gonna become Intercontinental Champion, but I've seen his U.S. title reign last year, and that was a major disappointment. I did not enjoy that one bit. That was completely boring, and I mean, like the only it's bad when Chris Jericho wins the title from Roman Reigns earlier this year. That's how bad it was. So I'm going to say wait and see for a Roman Reigns Intercontinental title reign. I think they just did it for a ratings pop for some reason. I'm not too sure. But I mean, I do prefer Miz as Intercontinental Champion because he is more entertaining, in my opinion, as the Intercontinental Champion. And plus, as I said in my last night's review of Survivor Series, I give credit to Miz for putting Corbin over. So, I mean, I'll give Miz credit for reducing the boos for Roman Reigns. So, I mean, that's something I'll give him kudos for. So, that's gonna be that's gonna be something that's interesting. That's interesting to watch. And I see some feedback on my Twitter that says show was boring as beep. Yes, I'm putting the censor. I do not want to get flagged on my YouTube channel, even though I did use some profanity yesterday. It was very sparse and minimal. So, show from username carpet _ Okay, yeah, like I said before, the show was boring in the first hour and most of the second hour, but then after Paige's return, it did pick up a little bit. But I think the only highlight of Monday Night Raw was Paige returning, so that's all I could say. I meant and it really is uncomfortable to see Stephanie McMahon open the show of Monday Night Raw. I meant she does nothing productive of that show. I meant she always talks down on the authority figures like Kurt Angle, and she did the same thing to Mick Foley, and she does it to a lot of the wrestlers. I meant in order to be a good heel authority figure, you need to at least get an ass beating. That's all I have to say. If you want to be a good heel authority figure, you need to get at least an ass beating from a babyface. That's a tip I'm gonna give to future pro wrestlers and managers out there. Even though I am not in the pro wrestling industry, but I'm sure a lot of people who are will probably say the same thing. And Stephanie is way too protected. First of all, she is not the president of the United States, so people can actually touch her. All right? She's not the president of the United States, so there is no need to protect her. And I would definitely love to see somebody from the women's division beat up Stephanie. Just to at least give her what she deserves for mentally torturing everybody. Especially Bailey. I'm going to say Bailey should be the one to beat up Stephanie because Bailey is the only pure-hearted babyface on the women's division overall. So you want to put a major face over, you need a much sinister heel to counter. That's pretty much how all stories work, especially in movies, TV shows. Heck, I know that in Dragon Ball, Goku is like the almighty hero. So, and he had villains to counter, like Cell, Frieza. So I mean, like you need somebody to counter a pure-hearted face. And I meant like you had to book it right because I know WWE has a history of bad booking. So I meant like what were the matches earlier? Oh yes, Finn Balor and Samoa Joe finally put their hands at each other, and I gotta say it was a decent match, but I meant like it's nothing too great right now because I have a feeling they're gonna save their best stuff for a future pay-per-view, and the future pay-per-view is gonna be a long time away. That's what I have to say right now. The future pay-per-view is a long time away. Because Raw does not have a pay-per-view until the Royal Rumble. Because the next pay-per-view that's coming up in December is Clash of Champions. And that is going to be a SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view. So Raw has 8 weeks to build up a pay-per-view. So they don't really have to do anything right now until January, so they pretty much have a lot of time for filler. On the other hand, SmackDown has to keep their stories canon for the next pay-per-view. I think I said pay-per-view too much. Alright, that's all I have to say for the Raw review, and no, I did not hear anything regarding Drew McIntyre's injury, so sorry. But hopefully on the next podcast for the SmackDown synopsis, I can give a better review of it. And I have to say one thing. Make Raw 2 hours again. 3 hours is way too much. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a Raw review for every Monday Night Raw episode. Here's the idea. I'm going to do a Raw review for the show after the pay-per-views. How about that? A Raw review for the show after the pay-per-views. So let's say after Royal Rumble, after Mania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and every Raw branded pay-per-view, I will do a Raw review for each Raw pay-per-view that comes right after or before. Sorry, I'm rambling. And as for the SmackDown side, for the synopsis, I will do a SmackDown synopsis for after each pay-per-view for that. So I will not cover every Raw and SmackDown. It is too much. I'm just going to say it right now. But I will cover it on occasion, so that's that. All right, I will see you on the next podcast for SmackDown synopsis, and I'll share my thoughts on that. And hopefully give a proper analysis on that, because Monday Night Raw, aside from Paige's return, it's a little bit forgetful. Take care, everyone.